I'm about to release a single and I just want to walk you through the mix, how I mix the vocals. If you're looking to get your vocals to sound polished, clean, professional, then you might be able to pick up a few tips on this in this video. If you're new to mixing, then it might seem a bit advanced. And if you've been mixing for a bit, then you might find some gems. But yeah, this is my approach to mixing this single, Say Less. It's called Say Less. It'll be out soon. So let me show you my thought process, my approach to mixing these vocals, and you can apply it to your mixes. So I'll play it to you without any processing going on.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less, look. Like, I'm just gonna say yes because he made me say yes, but he left me here.
Here's with the processing.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less, look. Like, I'm just gonna say yes because he made me say yes, but he left me here. And all I know is that they can't compare. And I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. Whoa.
Nice. So I'll run you through exactly what I did to get to that point. The vocals sounding clean, crisp, clear. So first off, I've got the end console. Absolutely love the end console. It just gives me that saturation, separation, and just a nice overall sound from a mix. So I've routed that to the mastering stage, you call it, master grouping, and then just added the fat knob and global saturation. So that's cool. So I've gain staged it using the end console, turned it down a bit, and yeah, just use the end console to gain stage the vocals.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it.
Turns it down a little bit. Then I got a de-esser on there. It's doing about -6 to -8 dB of de-essing. I don't need to explain too much on that to you. If you don't know what a de-esser is, basically it just ducks the S's down when they're too much. It's like a compressor almost for that specific frequency. So in the EQ, my first EQ, I've took out some of the top end because I know later on down in the chain, I'm going to add some more top end, some saturation, and I don't want it to get too brittle and too harsh sounding. Then I got a bunch of frequencies in here that felt that they just needed to be pulled out. It was just annoying.
Charlie pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get you.
Yeah, just some scratchy noises. 490 Hertz was bothering me, and 254. And then just a little roll off on the low end, get rid of rumble. Then I got a decapitator on there. That's just driving it by 1, just over 1 on my favorite style E. And what's that then?
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less, look.
So that feels like it's giving us even more grit, but not too much grit. So then I got the Valhalla and Proceed 2. That's reverb inserted on the vocal. But the reason why I put it on there is because I watched the video just recently from Streaky, and they're saying if you want that polished sound, put your reverb as an insert. We've been using it wrong. So I'm going to do a whole video on that. So I don't want to talk too much about that for now. But this is what it's doing.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like...
Nice. So I'm just going to leave that off for now. And then, actually, let me play it with the song. Let me play it with the song.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look.
You hear what that's doing? So moving on. On my sends, I've got the P mix. I use P mix all the time. All that is just a parallel mix for everything. Everything gets sent to that parallel mix. And all that is CLA 76, Pro Q3 doing a bit of filtering in mono, 170 Hertz and a little dip around 4.6K. Then I've got an L2 on there just to squeeze and knock down any peaks that might be trying to run through and cause problems on the main bus. So that sounds like...
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like...
Not doing much at all. Very subtle. I've only even pushed that up by -30. So next I've got my favorite. Well, my favorite. Next, I've got center. Center just widens the vocals, just makes it a little bit wider. All I've got on there is DSR, Pro Q4, Doubler 2, Aphex, and Reverb. So the end console is getting routed to the mastering group that I showed you earlier. DSR.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an art.
Just doing a bit of DS in there because I don't want it to interfere with the main vocal. Pro Q4 looks crazy, but it's not. It works. It's just removing some top end because without it, this is what it sounds like.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like.
So yeah, just removing some frequencies that I don't want to step on the main vocal. And then we've got...
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like. And I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less, look.
So all the doubler is doing is just giving us signal from the left and right channels. I got a bit of gain there, and
everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And
I'm not too sure if I like that, but that's what I've done, so I've just left it as that. I've took the direct signal out. I used to keep the direct signal in, and that would act like almost like a parallel for the main vocals, like it would give it a thickness. But I've took it out on this.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it.
I didn't want that in there. And then we've got Aphex Vintage Exciter, and that's just exciting the sides.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, and I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less, look, like.
And that seems to work for the doubler. So on that, I've got Reverb. Reverb, it's not the reverb. I'm just using it as to push back the center, the width of the vocals. So I don't want it to be exactly the same loudness as the main vocal. So it's kind of like just sitting behind it just to give it that wideness. This is with and without.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like.
So it's almost like it turns it down, but it works. So this is with and without and with.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like. And I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less, look, like, I'm just gonna say yes because he make me say yes, but he left me. So
yeah, it's subtle, but it feels like it's giving the sides a little bit of movement, and I like that. Works lovely. So that's the width, and then on the sends I've got some effects. I've got quarter delay, half delay, eighth delay, and that's just to add little throws here and there to add a little bit air candy to the track. Then I've got reverb, which is the main reverb for the main vocals, which I'll play.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, and I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less, look, like.
And that works really well. So all the effects is routed to a bus, all effects bus, and that effects bus is routed to the mastering group. So it's getting all the same love and saturation as everything else within the mix. So I'll just turn off the effects so you can hear what it's like without.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, and I'm like, say less. Look.
So that's sounding cool, almost there. What I do with my mixes, sometimes I'll start from the all Vox Buss and work backwards. So I think I might have done a bit of that on this mix. I can't remember 100%. For me, the vocals are still sounding a bit boxy.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I
would have started with probably put the DSR on there.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest.
Yes, is only doing like -4 dB just to catch some of that S that it might have missed earlier on in the chain. And then I would have turned on Mark EQ4 because I like to mix into that. And all that's doing is just taking out 1 dB in the sub region. It's probably not even doing anything. 40 hertz, I've just notched that down by 0.5. 160, same again, 0.5. Boosted at 650. Let's see what that does.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your thought as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, and I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like.
Yeah, so I felt at the time that it worked well with the mix. So let's just hear it with the mix.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less.
Yeah, I didn't need too much of that. And then 2.5, I just boosted by 0.5. And this is all it's done.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look, I'm
very subtle. Then I've turned it down by 1.5 dB on the level trim. So I didn't want to be boosting and making changes and it's lying to me because it's louder and I'm thinking that it's better. So let's move on to the main bus. So the channel, the vocals are routed to a main bus, and then the main bus is routed to a null Vox bus, it would be the vocals, the main vocals and ad-libs and background vocals all into one. So let's look at the main bus. Again, end console routed to the mastering group. I've got the spectral shaper, Ozone 11 spectral shaper on there, and that is just to get rid of that boxing.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad. Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look, look, and I'm like, say less. Look, like, I'm just gonna say yes because he made me say yes, but he left me here.
I felt like that was getting rid of some of the boxiness that I could hear. Yeah, that works well. And that works nicely for what I wanted it to do, what I needed it to do. Then I got C6 on there, and that is...
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like...
Just getting rid of a few annoying frequencies using those two bands, and then for the rest of it, I'm just trying to get it to just lock in and create a tone for the vocals. And that works nicely. Let's hear it.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look, look, and I'm like, say less. Look, like, I'm just gonna say yes because he...
So it sounds like I'm losing some volume, and it is, but it also sounds a lot cleaner, I think. Then I've got Pro Q4 on there. This looks bananas. Actually, it's not too bad. It's cool. So I'm just taking out some more low end because I still felt like I could hear some low end. So I just rolled off 68 hertz, and this one here was really bugging me. Here's it on its own.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like...
I'll boost it so you can hear what I've done.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest.
Why does it feel like it's playing something else?
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look, look, and I'm like, say less. Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist.
So yeah, that was really annoying me. So I took that out, and I took out some screechiness at 3.4K.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it.
And I boosted slightly.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest.
400.
Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get...
And then took out some other frequencies.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less.
Yeah, look, just some frequencies that I felt like was just interfering with the mix, and I didn't really like it, so I took them out. And then 12K.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist.
Felt really shrill. Didn't like that, so I took that out. So then I've got Spectre on there, and I'm boosting 218 hertz. I'm going to play the full mix. I'm going to play the mix so you can hear why I've done that. It's just to add some body to the vocals because I felt like I was losing it.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look, look, and I'm like, say less. Look, like, I'm just gonna say yes because he made me say yes, but he left me here, and all I know is that they can't compare, and I'm Charlie bad.
Yeah, that's cool. Sounds a bit woofy still, but I'm sure I'll take care of that around there somewhere. So then I've got UAD Fairchild on there just to do a bit of compression.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your fault as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Look, look, and I'm like, say less. Look, like, I'm just gonna say...
Very, very, very subtle compression on that. And then I've got transmod on there just to give it a bit of bite, bit of shaping the transients of the vocals.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your foot as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, and I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less. Look, like, I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, I love that on there. One of my favorite transient shapers to use on vocals. So moving on to the main bus, the main Vox. Now this is where everything should just start to tie in now. I've got Soothe 2 on there, 85% mix, and I'm using Voice of God preset. The depth is a lot, but let's just see what it does.
Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your foot as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like,
Go back a bit.
and I'm like, and I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like, look, and I'm like, say less. Look, like, I'm just gonna say yes, cause he make me say yes, but he left me here, and all I know is that they can't compare, and I'm Charlie bad, get used to it, whoa. Gun lean, top girl like, trust me, Chingy, yeah, I'm Chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy, everyone's talking about me.
I feel like that's tidying up that top end nicely. Then I've got You a D Fairchild after Soothe 2, and that's just doing a little bit more compression.
Gun lean, top girl like, trust me, Chingy, yeah, I'm Chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy, everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me, everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your foot as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it.
Yeah, I love the tone and that sounds sweet. Then I've got the Oxford Inflator on there. I've just boosted the effect just by 35%, left the curve in the middle. Lower gives you a bit more low end to the sound, and then higher gives you a bit more top end saturation. It tells you what it does if you want to read all of that. But this is what the inflator's doing.
Gun lean, top girl like, trust me, Chingy, yeah, I'm Chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy, everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me.
So I'm going to boost it and I'm going to lower it so you can hear what it does.
Gun lean, top girl like, trust me, Chingy, yeah, I'm Chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy, everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me, everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your foot as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it, and I'm like, and I'm like, say less. Look, I'm like.
Lovely plugin. They say that you should turn it up 100% to hear what it's doing, or for it to work the way it's supposed to. So when the effect level control is set to maximum position, the effect fader sets the amount of the overall inflator effect that is applied to the program. Output overloads are entirely avoided when the effect level control is set to maximum position 100%. But I feel like it's working before 100%. So yeah, I'll just run with that. I think it sounds good. So this is another plugin that I've had it for ages, and I watched a video the other day. Someone's using this to put the clarity on, and it sounded so nice. I thought, yeah, let me try that. So I did.
Gun lean, top girl like, trust me, Chingy, yeah, I'm Chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy, everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is.
I forgot to say I turned down the level of the Oxford Inflator. It's not all the way up. I've turned it down a bit. Yeah, by -2 dB, I've turned that down. Anyway, back to Drummer. I've got Clarity 1 on. I've got only 20% amount on that, and I've got 3. It's only got like a 3.0 mix, and I've turned the gain down by 1.5. This is with and without. This is without and with.
Gun lean, top girl like, trust me, Chingy, yeah, I'm Chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy, everyone's talking about me, everyone wants.
Very nice. Subtle, but nice. Could I have just used the inflator for that? Maybe. Am I using too many plugins? I don't think so, not in this mix. I've tried to keep it to a minimum, but anyway, we move. So after that, I've got Hi-Fi, one of my favorite plugins to use on vocals, on the main bus, on hi-hats. Yeah, this plugin is so cool. Nice plugin. Sweet sounding. So all this is doing is just getting rid of it's just taming some frequency between 4.7 and 11.5. Then I've boosted in parallel 1.1 kilohertz to 4 kilohertz. And this is what it's doing.
Gun lean, top girl like, trust me, Chingy, yeah, I'm Chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy, everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me, everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better pop as your foot as an artist. I'm Charlie bad, get used to it.
And I feel like that there just sounds so cool, nice. Like it's taming what it needs to tame. It's taming anything that's irritating, but then giving it a nice sheen on top of the vocals. And this is with the effects in.
Gun lean, top girl like trust me. Chingy, yeah, I'm chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy. Everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me. Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better put pressure, thought as an artist, I'm Charlie bad gay.
Feels like the vocals, instead of just being lost and buried within all the sounds and that, it's like it's sitting on top, but in a nice way, nice musical, pleasing way. And the reason why I put high file there to do that is because the Ampex ATR 102 is a bit bright, and I just wanted to control some of the frequencies that this is going to introduce. So let's hear it without and then with.
Gun lean, top girl like trust me. Chingy, yeah, I'm chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy. Everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me. Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better put pressure, thought as an artist, I'm Charlie bad gay. Gun lean, top girl like trust me. Chingy, yeah, I'm chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy. Everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me. Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better.
Yeah, I like that. It still maybe could do with a bit more attenuation on the top end of the vocals. Like it might be a little bit too sizzly. I'm only listening to it through all these at the moment. I will check it on my phone. I will check it on the VSX headphones, and I will check it on the monitors as well, just to make sure that the vocals is sitting where I want it to. But I'm happy with the overall sound. Then we're moving on to standard clip. Now with standard clip, I've added a little bit of saturation, just 5%, that just to give it a bit of a perceived loudness. And I've dropped the clip by -12, so just to catch any rogue peaks.
Gun lean, top girl like trust me. Chingy, yeah, I'm chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy. Everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me. Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better put pressure, thought as an artist, I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less. Gun lean, top girl like trust me. Chingy, yeah, I'm chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy. Everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around.
Okay, so I just swapped around the high file and the Ampex. I feel like the Ampex before high file sounds slightly better. What do you reckon? Let me know, because whatever you're listening to is obviously different to what I'm listening to it on. So yeah, just drop a comment and let me know what you think sounds better. I appreciate your help.
Gun lean, top girl like trust me. Chingy, I'm chungly, I'm so Malone, yeah, I'm so Bugsy. Everyone's talking about me, everyone wants to know who is around me. Everyone wants to know who's talking the hardest. Charlie better put pressure, thought as an artist, I'm Charlie bad, get used to it. And I'm like, say less.
So that's how I mix the vocals for our new single, and I'm going to master it. So I'm going to do a video on that, showing you how I mastered it. So if that video's not up already, it will be out soon. So I'm going to show you how I mastered this track and get it sounding finished, polished. Say less. It'll be out on all streaming platforms. Support, stream, do all that good stuff. Appreciate you for watching. See you in the next video.